Hi, Eloise. You're muted. Hi, Ramiz.
Hi, Vince.
Hello, Vince.
David. Bonnie David.
Hello.
You've had a haircut or a beard trim or something.
Of them.
You look a bit thinner.
Thank you. I will take that as a compliment.
Yes. Yeah. I don't give compliments these days. I describe what I see and people will often take it as a compliment, and I don't mind that, but I'm not usually giving it as a compliment. Yeah. So something good must have happened for you to be back, Eloise, from last week?
Is that an assumption, Vince?
It is. It is. It's my story. I have no problems owning that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile exercise for sure.
Right. Yeah.
I've got something that's up if you want me to, can I ask it now?
Sure. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with Penilla's pointing out about blaming, shaming, complaining, I have noticed that a number of my friendships, the glue has really been a lot around blaming, shaming, complaining. And so I certainly in one instance, I decided quite consciously to let go of that friendship because I didn't want to go there anymore, and they aren't in the spiritual kind of insightful, realm at all. So I chickened out kind of first of all, where I just kind of disappeared on them. And then after some months of kind of dodging and weaving, they said, what's going on? And so I explained it in the kindest way possible, that basically, what I said to you, it was kind of the glue in our relationship was what I felt to be a lot of blaming, shaming, complaining, and that I just didn't want to go there anymore. And it was kind of like hanging out with an alcoholic when you've given up drinking. I didn't say that in the note.
Yeah. So just before you go on, so that glue you're talking about,
Yeah.
is I'm imagining that you were asked to agree with things that were the blaming, shaming stuff.
Yeah. And I did. And I would get going myself. And I just saw that it was kind of, something that I did to keep the relationship or, kind of moving along. But I didn't want to do that anymore, really, at all. And so as I said, I crafted this note, and I did it in the most tactful way I could without kind of blaming, shaming them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the reaction was just like, what planet are you on?
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. And like, and then a couple of weeks after they kind of took it in that I didn't want to hang out with them anymore, they basically told me I was a fucking bitch.
Yeah. Well, that's a kind of an easy way out for you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. And so then, I mean, someone else was shown that email and just said, no, I don't think that you were really, you know, I think it was as tactful as you could be given what you wanted to say. So I felt kind of some sense of, okay, well then, you know, this is just the fallout of that. And so Vince, I mean, I've kind of ridden the end of that friendship, but there's that, you know, there is a bit of a nasty sense still there. And someone just recently tried to kind of manipulate me back into being friends with that person. So, you know, it's not necessarily just over.
Yeah.
And I guess the other part of that whole scenario is that there are other friends with whom and family with whom I shared that blaming, shaming, complaining momentum regularly in our connection. And when I don't go there, it feels very confronting for me.
Mm. What, how confronting? In what way confronting? Like, I don't imagine you feel guilty, but you feel,
You know, just that I don't even want to respond, but then it's just like, then there's just this silence.
yes, yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It was both interesting and encouraging that you didn't try to change them. You allowed them to continue to be the way they were and just disassociate yourself with them. That was interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
I think this movement that you did, this movement, like there is this silence. I wonder what are you talking about? Well, what is this?
Well, it's like I don't want to join them in that anymore. And so I kind of hit this wall and I just don't even know how to respond anymore. Oh, okay.
Mm.
So there is this kind of a wall. You feel that when they share things like this, you feel like a wall.
Yeah, it's like a
And
wall. It's walls, you know, something's there. I don't know how to.
it's okay. You don't have to put words, but I'm more interested about how you feel when this something is there.
Yeah, me too. So obviously you feel something is wrong, something is not good. So you don't feel guilty, you don't feel righteous, I imagine, but you feel something that's a bit unpleasant, eh?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, like it has been the glue in a lot of my relationships, you know, to certain degrees, you know, and then when I take that away, it feels like, oh, without telling them, it feels really weird because they're not used to me not joining them in that
Yeah,
whole.
gotcha, yeah.
It's like someone saying, you know, have a drink, have a drink, have a drink.
Yeah.
And you've stopped drinking. And it's like, they're really put on the back foot. I'm feeling like, well, I don't want to tell them about what's going on because I don't want them to feel shamed, blamed.
Mm.
by us.
Mm. Mm. Another interesting point about this is that you're almost stepping out of the normal social interaction, not just with them, but with the whole of society. Because
Yeah, right.
that's the glue that's in a large part of our society, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah.
So if you were to imagine that you were still friends with them, but you didn't engage in this stuff, I'm kind of getting that you imagine that would be uncomfortable for them.
Oh, look. I think I'm more concerned about me feeling discomfort.
Mm. So what's the discomfort though? That you have to be like them if you're going to associate with them?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that I have to kind of join them somehow in this.
Yeah. I wonder, it just made me think that I wonder if what I do is a bit of a funny one, and that is that I loudly present myself as a weirdo when I'm in groups like that, and I mean they're everywhere. You can't not be involved with them, I think. But that involvement, I have, it gives me total control to say, well, I'm a weirdo and I don't get into that shit. Sorry, and if you don't like me the way I am, well, I can, you don't have to have anything to do with me. But yeah, it is a tricky one.
Especially when you're one-on-one, Vince, because I think in a group situation, I can kind of take a back seat and not be so.
Yes.
But in a one-on-one, which is basically what I'm referring to, is one-on-one connection with people when I'm out walking with them, when I'm, on the phone with them, when I'm just talking to them one-on-one. And then they're thinking, well, geez, like what's going on here? Like I'm not responding in that same habitual way that, I'm not feeding their drug habit the same way that I used to,
So what about one of the things that I put a great stock in is authenticity. So I'm not going to pretend with people. So if somebody is with me and we're walking side by side and they start going on about another friend, for example, I'd be asking them, what is it that you're feeling? Why are you feeling this way about them? How is their being the way they are affecting you? I'd be asking them questions that would divert them away from the bitchiness into what they're actually feeling. But that's just me. I don't know if that's appropriate, but that's a one way to kind of to have an authentic relationship with somebody, regardless of what they were. And they pretty quickly get the idea that you're not going to get sucked into being a bitch about Mary just because she's not with you at the time, or whatever. But from the point of view of this stuff, from what we're doing here, what you feel.
Unknown caller.
Excuse me, I got a phone call.
I want to say, I jump in. I think I just want to differentiate, because what I'm hearing is like you want to connect with them, but not with the shaming and blaming part. So just to name that there is a will for you to connect to people, to your friend, but not with this part. So I think what Vince said very interesting, because you can learn to differentiate when they're in this kind of mood and intention, and you can orient yourself, your own self. That's what I do with friends, right? But when I'm in this phase, I orient what is in this person that I want to connect with, and I start to orient the discussion in the way where I want to go, right? And it's true that sometimes life changes, and I found out that there is nothing in the other that I really want to connect with, the shaming part nor anything else. So naturally, the relationship kind of vanish naturally without fighting. But it's also true that every relationship that is kind of affect me, because everyone it's a part of me, right? So it's also important to really feel what I feel when I see this reaction, this behavior. How do I feel inside of me, and why do I want to push away this person? It really, because I feel uncomfortable, like you said.
A point. I feel I identify with the experience, and I think one of the beauties that one is becoming more aware of who we will mingle with, because it seems like as we are more aware of how we choose, what we choose, and what we want, things will change. And there's this in between moments of discomfort and change, and so until we find the kind of level of connection that we want to have, like the quality of the interactions and so on. I try to pull their leg a bit, and if I feel like I'm strong in my in my own inner state, then I kind of challenge them a little bit, like in a positive or nudging way, with fun or. But yeah, I've been too much of a nice guy. I have it in the body, in the personality. So I also identify a lot with this going along. I can go along without even realizing it, So it's very important for me at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because the going along is that feeling of ickiness that I have afterwards in myself, which is kind of like an indicator that I've just gone along to make it easy.
You're betraying your own authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel that afterwards. I don't necessarily feel it in the moment, but I feel it afterwards, where it's kind of like this kind of sense of heaviness and shame or something.
Yeah. You could thank them for being a trigger for stuff in you. It's an opportunity for you to investigate, to discover things about yourself. And I see you as a person with a fairly large amount of compassion. So you obviously don't want to hurt their feelings. That's in my imagination, but I suspect that's the case. So you might not necessarily say out loud, look, thank you for bringing this stuff up on me, kind of thing, but you recognize it in yourself, that what they're doing is making you feel uncomfortable. So rather than put the attention on trying to escape that discomfort, make use of that discomfort. That is telling you something about yourself. And if you think you know what it's telling you, you don't. It's something underneath that. It's always going to be something a bit deeper every time, because when you do know, it won't come up. So the fact that it's up there means that there's something underneath it to discover. So they can be valuable aids for you when they do that stuff. But in a really gentle way, over a longer period of time, they will get the idea that you're not interested in bitchy gossip stuff. That what you're really interested in is, what are they really feeling? What's really going on for them? What's really going on for you? That's, and the ones who can't get into that, or it makes them feel too uncomfortable, they'll drift away. So, it sorts itself out. You don't have to make decisions about who you're going to be friends with or not. Friendships happen and then unhappen or whatever, Yeah.
Mm.
You're smiling, David. There's something, yeah.
Yeah, because that's my experience. People come and go kind of easily. And often when I want to kind of clarify a relationship, it gets messy somehow, it gets a bit more messy than, and I feel that this is your story with Eloise, right? That you try to clarify a little bit and it's kind of making more waves around and it kind of getting a bit more messy. But why not? There's no bad way, you can do whatever you want. It's interesting. But it's true that friends come and go. Yesterday I have a friend that I haven't met for three years. 3 years, and she called me and how are you? And for half an hour, I don't know, she told me her life. I was speaking about my life, and somehow in my back of my mind, this is useless, but somehow I was aware of this judgment. Why not? It's nice, I have such a good friend, why not talking? And after we just hang up, and I don't know if I talk to her tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years, I have no idea, So yeah, I can see that somehow often this kind of projection on people, you know, how this people is meaningful in my life or is not meaningful, what will come out, but all of this is imagination, you know, people come in the present, you interact and it's gone and you have no idea what will happen next time. So
Authenticity is valuable, good stuff, you know. I had an experience today. Somebody sent me a text about 2 days ago. A good friend sent me a text a couple of days ago about something, and I read it and then forgot about it. And then today I discovered that, and I thought to myself, oh, okay. So I texted back saying, I'm not ignoring her. I just didn't have anything to say. And I got a heart back for it. She liked it, you know. So it was like just being authentic is a great, you know, there's no decisions to make. That is what they're, you know, I'll show you what's really there. That's it. Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, and you know, part of me in that vein of authenticity, Vince, would actually like to fess up to good friends and say, look, you know, I'm actually on a blaming, shaming, complaining diet.
Yes.
And so I actually can't stomach this.
Wow.
Yeah, that could be a bit confronting, to put it that way. But yeah, that's exactly what you mean, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe you could put it in terms that a little bit more gentle by saying, I'm investigating that stuff in myself.
Yeah, okay.
You're not accusing them of being that way. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
you
And
can write,
I'd like
you
to,
can write everything you don't like about them, you know, like you are like this, you are like this, you're like this, but you say I, you know,
Yes.
and you will see it will go very smooth.
Yeah.
Maybe not for you, but for the other, it will go very, very smoothly.
And the
Often,
other
yeah.
thing is, from a slightly different perspective, is that, you know, of course, everything that we see out there is our own projection. So it's we wouldn't recognize that stuff in them if it wasn't in us. So they're being mirrors, which is really good on their part, isn't it, to do that for us?
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, you know, with the friends that I have, I think I would ideally like to encourage them to, you know, if they're willing to join in.
Mm. And they probably would, I think. You know, one of the things that one of the values of friendship is that connection. And of course, you're not going to get a closer connection than you would when you start talking about this on this level with people. You know, it's a wonderful connection. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if the friends, you know, have got some sort of,
Yeah. If they're strong enough in their own self-worth to not take offense, that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
Another point that comes to mind is maybe what disturbs us with the blaming and shaming and so on in other people's language is that it triggers our thoughts, like our thoughts start spinning off and we start feeling bothered or disturbed. And so maybe a non-dual question could be like, to whom does this, like, you know, who is bothered by this? So that kind of self-inquiry internally, asking oneself, can help driving back and calm the own mind whilst you're in the situation, kind of.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I have to be really mindful. I'm very adept at spiritual bypassing, so I do need to be very aware for this one, you know, to actually kind of feel things.
Yes. So if you
Yeah.
do ask that question for yourself, of yourself, who is doing this, it's you definitely not to look at thoughts as an answer. You look at the feeling. Where is that sensation that you might label as a self? Yeah. That's the thing. So you don't bypass. That's, of course, bypassing is a very real risk with that question.
Yeah, not to force away anything. No,
Mm.
it maybe it's a beautiful like opportunity to tune into yourself more. Yeah.
Hmm. And of course, part of this is that we don't, I mean, the people in my social circles, the people I go out with of a Friday night for meals and that, they've got no idea that I'm into this stuff, and I'm not interested in telling them. It's of no value. You know, they already think I'm a weirdo, and that's great. You know, that lets me off the hook with a lot of stuff. To share this stuff with them is not going to be, you know, unless they showed an interest, and none of them do, of course. They're more interested in talking politics or whatever. Yeah. 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 Good to see you, John. I haven't seen you for such a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, you have this new time that I thought I would sample this
Right.
new session.
So how's life been for you for all this time?
Well, pretty good, I guess. Had some health issues, but I'm better off now.
Yeah, health issues are great, aren't they? I've got a few happening at the moment, and they tend to center you a little bit. Yeah.
Right. Let you see what's really important and what things you can just ignore.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Yesterday I went to the podiatrist, and afterwards they said, hang around, the doctor wants to talk to you. And when he did, he said, that sample we sent away that we cut off your leg, turns out to be a melanoma. So we're going to have to refer you to the cancer clinic. And the interesting part was I felt no sense of dread whatsoever, no fear, no anxiety, just, okay, that's it. We just need to do that. Yeah. It was,
Yeah.
yeah. And then tomorrow I go down to Sydney, a big long drive to Sydney, and have a radio frequency ablation of my esophagus. And my wife says, are you nervous? Like, no, I'm not aware of any nervousness. So they're all, I'm not quite patting myself on the shoulder for not feeling nervous or afraid, but it's almost, you know, yeah. It's an indication.
Well, you're aware that you're not really the body. So whatever happens to the body is
Yeah, neither here nor there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So about this, what about this stuff? What about this seeing through the illusion of self stuff? Is that advanced for you in any way?
I would say probably just because it hasn't been topmost in my mind lately. There's been so much going on that haven't really thought about it much.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's kind of good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet here you are. So there's still some interest in it.
Yeah, the interest never goes away, but it does kind of ebb and flow.
Yeah. As does everything.
Right.
Mm. Mm. How are you, Leonard? We didn't even get to talk to you last time we met. It was so busy with everybody.
I'm quite fine, quite calm recently. And I mean, I told everybody last time about my racist colleague. And actually, in the last week, I had quite a nice conversation with her about death. So it was quite personal and really deep talk in a way. And now I'm quite curious to getting to know her a bit better, because I feel that, I mean, if I don't talk to her or if I'm unfriendly, it won't help anything. I mean,
Mhm.
I guess it's better to, yeah, isn't there, I think it was the Beatles, right? Like happiness is a warm gun or something like that. I would say maybe friendliness is a warm gun. And also I felt quite, yeah, I remembered a situation when I was listening to Eloise. And yeah, I told you before that I spent 5 years in Argentina, and that gave me the chance to recognize that I had built up over the years kind of personality in Berlin, and this personality, yeah, I think it was a bit arrogant and also a bit with a cynical kind of humor and so on. And it didn't work in the other cultural context. So I had to kind of deconstruct it. And then, yeah, I think I had kind of an identity crisis, because I was not sure, like, who am I then? And then at some point I understood, yeah, but it's not necessary to build up a new personality, just be as you are, you know? And but then also a friend of mine, or one of my best friends from Berlin, yeah, she was like over many years in a kind of a toxic relationship, and she always told me about it, complaining, and then she told me, yeah, we separated, and then she went back to the guy, and that was like repeating over many years. And then at some point she said, yeah, now we separated. And then I told her, okay, don't you want to come over to Argentina from Germany? Because I thought, then if she stays like for a month or two, she won't be able to go back to this toxic relationship. But the problem was that like she kind of knew the old version of myself, which was still drinking, taking drugs, going to parties, having this kind of cynical humor. And also, I guess, when we started to be friends, we connected by gossiping about the others, you know, like this teenage way of connecting by saying, yeah, all the others are stupid, but we know better. And then the problem was that actually I was not that stable at that time, because I had just quit drinking. And she now came to visit me for 2 months, but she was expecting to get from me this old, fun Leonard with whom she could go to parties to forget about her separation, you know. And then kind of I felt she was really like expecting that always from me, but I couldn't give it to her. And then also maybe a part of me was missing that fun that we had before. But then I have to say that we also, yeah, I mean, it was maybe fun, but also not very good for our health, I guess. And then, yeah, I noticed, I mean, anyway, it turned out to be very difficult, and I lost, yeah, my temper somehow. So in the end, like, we had a lot of conflicts, because because anyway, I needed my own space, like to get sober and not be triggered by someone who comes home drunk from a party or hides bottles of wine in my flat and stuff like that, you know? So after her stay in Argentina, maybe we didn't talk for some weeks, but then we started to get in contact again. And I said, I'm really sorry, I didn't treat you well. And I knew that you were sad because of this separation. But in the end, she told me, yeah, it was not that nice, but anyway, you rescued me. And yeah, I have to say she's still a good friend, because also I understood her, she understood me. It didn't turn out to be a very good being together, but in the end, I think our friendship reached a different level, because there was like more understanding for the other one's otherness. And now, I mean, it's like 2 years ago or something. And now my friend also is more aware of this, yeah, about drinking and taking drugs, and she quit smoking and stuff like that. And we are making fun about this situation now, because she always calls me her horrible savior, because I was in a very bad mood and maybe not treating her that nice, not being so relaxed. But it was also too much for me at that moment. And another thing is that, yeah, for example, there's like a mechanism in my family going on. We are only my mom, my sister, and me. And my mom and my sister, like, I think it's already for 20 years now that they have a problem with each other. I don't really know what it is. I mean, I have some ideas, but then I noticed I can only interpret it through my bubble of reality, and that doesn't really serve anything. And the mechanism has been for many years that my mom complains about my sister with me, and then my sister complains about my mom, and I'm always the person in the middle who has to listen to that. And then I think I also during many years I put oil into the fire, because I then said, oh yeah, I can understand, that's not good, you know, she shouldn't talk to you like that and stuff like that. And I think now with non-duality also, I have understood that I don't have to take part in this story, you know, like, and it's a bit difficult as well, because I mean, anyway, it's the same stories for 20 years that are repeating, and I have to listen to it again and again. And I just, it's not so long ago that I told both of them that they can tell me, I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to say anything to them, because the only thing I'm saying is you should not speak about this with me, but with the other person, you know, like they should communicate. And and it's a bit difficult, because then the usual reaction is, you're making things so easy for yourself, we are a family, and how is it you don't care about that? And you know, so
How does it make you feel?
In the beginning, I felt like, oh yeah, it's a bit, maybe it's egoistic, and it's just that I just don't want to listen to it anymore, and it's uncomfortable for me. But I came to a point where I understood that, or not even intellectually, I just feel no, I'm not, I can't do anything for them, you know. I mean, for example, when they have a misunderstanding between them, it's totally clear for me that they interpret what the other person said through their backpack, you know, of the bubble of reality. And also I, as someone who is not within this conflict between the two, I can notice that, for example, someone is agitated and then says this sentence, and the other one is selfing and she said that about me, and then like chewing this sentence like again and again and again, you know. And it's just some thing that was said not in a mindful way, you know, by the other person.
So
And
you
then
can
this is
see-
treated as if it was literature and you are like a professor for literary science, and it's like a quote that is there like in marble forever or something like that, you know. So also, I mean, I know the perspective of both, but I have to say, if I try to be on one or the other side, and if I question myself, like who of both is right, I can't really tell, because I don't know. I was not in the situation, and what I did before for many years was really siding with my mom more than with my sister. And at some point I understood, no, that's not right, because for the two of them, it seems very real, like their interpretation of the story, when, yeah, probably either one or the other perspective is true, you know? I mean, it's more easy, I mean, it's easier to see that from outside in a conflict between two persons than for myself a lot of times. So
how do you feel about not being able to fix it?
it's okay for me. I mean, it's not my job, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but then also like it's a similar story, because before, like both of them knew how I would react, you know. I would always play the same game with them. Oh yeah, our mom said this and did that wrong in the past. Yeah, I understand, you know. Or
So
I would say
do you
my
think
mom,
they
yeah,
understand? Do you
yeah.
think they understand that you've changed, this new Lennart that's come back from Argentina? They get you?
I'm still practicing, and I mean, I actually, to make them understand why I'm not going to take part in that, I used this model of the bubble of reality, and they understood it.
Yes, yeah, that's a good
They
one.
got that. Yeah, and then they also don't talk about it anymore to me, or maybe a bit, but then they notice that I just don't answer, or I just don't say anything. I just say, okay. And yeah, I think in the beginning there was a bit of a frustration that I didn't deliver this old Lennart to them, that would join in and say, oh yeah, why did she say that? That's like.
So has your relationship with each of them changed?
It's a very new, fresh thing. So I'm still exploring, yeah. And then there is a different thing that also, yeah, last time, it was like on the Monday meeting, there was, I don't remember her name. She was saying like, yeah, sometimes I think when I experience what is, sometimes I think like, oh, that's all, you know.
Mm.
And I also had this for a long time. I think it was also a bit like this. Yeah, when I was young, I had a lot of fun, and there was always the next party and the next fireworks of emotions. And then I quit with everything, and then it felt like a long desert of not seeing anything pleasant in the horizon. And now yeah, and then I also, but at some point I noticed it's I'm labeling and I'm limiting myself, you know. I think like I was kind of like, oh, there is like a dog that is searching for a bone, you know, like where is the bone? Why is there no bone anywhere, you know? And now I understood kind of intuitively that I'm starting to be more curious. It's not that I'm searching for some highlight in the future, but I'm getting more curious to what is now. And that feels like the magic is kind of coming back, but it's not a magic that has to do with high expectations or like the next emotional fireworks. But it's also kind of something very, it started to happen like some weeks ago, I would say. So it's also something new, but it makes me very content because I feel like it's not the same desert anymore. So it's also I'm enjoying more, and I'm not so strict with myself anymore as well. And yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a good place. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm. How have you been, Eric?
So am I live?
Yes, you're alive. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been okay. Kind of had a weird thing yesterday. I've been growing, soaking brown rice and make it sprout and then cooking it. It's supposed to make it better. And I was looking at these things and they're starting to grow, and all of a sudden I realized I'm going to kill them and eat them. And I just, I felt really bad. I still got to eat them, but I just like, I don't know. It kind of affected me.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. It's yeah.
Guilt is always very big.
What?
Guilt is always very big, no matter how it appears to be.
Yeah.
So you could eat the potential for life as a seed without the guilt, but when you see the sprout, along comes the guilt.
I guess. I mean, I'm not a vegetarian. I mean, I'm actually not a carnivore, but I'm a carnivore because my wife is a carnivore, and so I'm follow along. But
So
yeah.
because you follow along, you are not guilty of eating animals. So the guilt is on
Oh
your
no,
wife now, not on yourself.
I just value the relationship more than I value trying to maintain my own habit of being a vegetarian, I guess.
But I mean, this is an interesting one, and it's certainly something that I've pondered a bit. And essentially, if you're not going to eat anything that's alive, you're going to die. Because it's it's not possible to avoid eating a vegetable or anything, whatever you like, whatever you want to call it, you know, whether it's meat or vegetable, everything's alive.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've caught fish and eaten them, and
Yeah.
um,
But you can honor them when you eat them.
about what?
You can honor them as you
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit raw if you thought, well, if I'm going to eat some beef, I've got to kill a cow in order to eat it. That's a bit more confronting. It's kind of, we get shielded from that guilt when we buy it in plastic from the supermarket or whatever. But
Yeah, I don't know if it was guilt so much as it felt a little bit like sadness.
Yes. Yeah.
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 I mean,
I had
I'm
this
definitely,
similar experience a couple of days ago. A mosquito bit me and I killed it. I squashed it on my arm. And as soon as I did that, I thought, oh, okay, that was a bit off. I mean, it sounds like not a big deal, but it kind of is a big deal. But that's just life, isn't it? That's the way things work.
yeah. And right now this is so gophers are tearing up the ground, and so I've been catching them and killing them. I don't like killing things, but if I don't kill them, they kill everything else. They kill all the other plants that have a right to live. And so you know, but every day I go out and I set traps. I've caught 28 of them so far.
Yeah.
And every time I catch one and kill them, I feel a little bit bad about it. But
many years ago, we bred chooks. We were living in the country, and we had chooks, and then we had these roosters. And what are we going to do with these roosters? Well, then they don't make very good eating. They're a bit tough, and the meat's a bit dark and rank, and so on. So we used to take them up the bush and let them go. That was our way of not killing them. But of course, we did kill them because they get caught by feral cats or whatever, you know. They wouldn't survive up there, but at least we weren't confronted with their death. So that was an interesting way, you know, a little bit like buying the meat from the supermarket, you know.
Yeah.
So what's important about all of this stuff? What's important when whatever it is that we feel about what we're doing, right, it's important not to justify it, not to pretend it's something other than what it is in order to feel okay about it. You know, there's a reality there. There's that feeling that comes up, right? As Lennart says, it's from our bubble of reality, you know, that where that feeling comes up from, and not avoiding it is where the value is. Accepting what it is that comes up, whatever that feeling is. Of course, it will change as we accept it, but accepting it, not justifying it, not rationalizing it, not pretending it's something other than what it actually is. That's where the value is, I think, for us, you know. So you kill gophers, well, you kill gophers, you know. So that's you don't need to feel anything bad or good about that. It's just what's happening, isn't it? You know, you could take them to the pet shop, but they wouldn't accept them. You could take them down the street and let them go, but they'd only come back. Who knows? You know, whatever happens is whatever happens. And if you kill them, then you kill them. That's it. It's not saying it's good. It's not saying it's okay. It's not saying it's bad. It's just what happens. Is it? Is it anything else? Can it be anything other than what happens?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, when things are out of whack, you know, there's not enough coyotes, and my cat would go out and hunt gophers every day and kept him pretty, not too bad, but he died. And so the gophers have had free reign for a year or two.
Yep.
Um,
There was an interesting one a couple of years ago. Some wolves were released into Yellowstone National Park. And before that, there were no wolves there. And what was happening was that the deer would congregate around all the water holes, and they basically caused a lot of problems with stomping all of the soft ground and whatever. And then they overbred. They got to be too many of them, and they were causing a lot of problems. And when they released the wolves back in, things went back into balance. You know, they stopped hanging around the water holes because the wolves knew where to get them, and they lost a few to the wolves who ate them, and so on and so on. And but the balance was restored. You know, so it's like, do we moralize about allowing predators to, or even putting predators back there? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. No, it would seem like a good thing that the balance was restored. So maybe what you're doing is keeping some kind of balance. Who knows?
yeah. Um,
That could be a rationalization too.
yeah, I guess I was talking to a monk here at the local Vietnamese Buddhist thing, and he, you know, he doesn't kill anything, and he told the story about feeling really bad because there was a pet shop or something that was selling turtles, and he felt really bad because people were going to buy these turtles, and or it wasn't a pet shop. I mean, I guess it was a food store, and they selling live turtles, and people take them home and kill them. And so he bought all the turtles and let them loose in this pond that had all these beautiful fish in them. Well, the turtles ate all the fish. and so he you know, he felt really bad about that, and he actually, I've forgotten what he does, but he does something. I think he buys fish and lets them freeze them to, you know.
And then they eat all the tadpoles. So
Yeah.
he can't win, can he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me that,
sorry, John. Yeah.
it reminds me that if you ask any one of us what our opinion is of bacteria, most of us will say we have a negative opinion because we've had bacterial infections. So bacteria are something we should kill. And then we find out that our guts are filled with trillions of healthy bacteria. And in fact, by body weight, each one of us is something like 20%. 20% of our body weight consists of healthy bacteria in our intestine. And we're not an individual, we're a community. We're a community of one human being that claims to be an individual, and billions and billions and billions of gut bacteria who are necessary.
Absolutely.
We need them to digest our food.
They
need us for a home. Yeah. And yet, if we looked at any one of these individual bacteria under a microscope, we would probably say, that's disgusting. It looks like a crab or a spider or something. I want to kill it. And yet we are 100% dependent on those bacteria. And we've had this symbiotic relationship for millions and millions of years. We grew up together. But if you took a handful of the bacteria out of my gut and showed them to me, I would be disgusted. But I wouldn't until you explain to me that that's necessary. I have to have that because my body is a community of living things. And Yeah, so you can go in so many directions with this. We have another thing is sometimes you watch a TV show or a YouTube video and it'll show a leopard in Africa chasing down the deer or the antelope or the wildebeest. And when the antelope gets away, we think, thank God that antelope gets to take care of her calves or her fawns or whatever. And the evil leopard was defeated. But the leopard also has children. The leopard doesn't have any, isn't immoral compared to the deer, but we have these cultural prejudices, and it makes me wonder, why do we think that a deer, because maybe it seems cuter or prettier or more vulnerable, we cheer for it, but we don't cheer for the leopard or the tiger or the lion. We
Yeah.
see them as evil predators, but they
Well,
have families and they have kids just
crocodile.
as much as the deer does.
Yeah. Yeah, so that picture of us being dependent on the bacteria, it's like you can extrapolate that out to everything in existence, and it's all in balance. Every bit of it's in balance, but the imbalance of it is still in balance. It's such a complex thing that we can have areas of imbalance and yet the whole thing is still in balance. So even with all of this terrible climate change and all of the wars going on and all of that is just exactly like being confronted with that bacteria under a microscope. It's all horrible stuff. It is what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is, and there is no getting away from that, no matter what you say, no matter what you think. Yeah.
I think it's essential to understand that perspective is always limited, no matter how big it seems to be. So whatever your moral judgment arise, it's limited. So you can look at war and say this is bad, but it's just because your perspective is limited. You have no idea how it come from, what it would mean for the future. You have no idea. Just have a little perspective, and you judge everything through that. But that's playing God, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why should those people don't die? Why should, you know, why not, you know? Because I think that exactly, but I think it's here. So talking about the morality and what should happen, what should not happen, it's yeah, it's very limited.
What happens when you're presented with an ethical dilemma, a choice to be made? Are you like sitting, wondering and curious about what me will do in this situation and be detached with what's happening, or would you be involved with thinking about the consequences and worrying about what to do?
But Ramiz, you ask, you question, like if there's a possibility to be uninvolved in what's happening. Experience, it's not a joke, you know. It's really huge. It's really here, you know. You live something, you know. There is emotion, there is thought. The experience, it's not a choice, you know. What's happening, it's kind of in your face. But you think that you can, maybe I can choose not to feel this. But choice, it's after the fact. You feel something, and after you think about it, you know. And thought is the same. There's that thought, and after there's that second thought about that thought, and there's that third thought about this thought. But there's only one thought here. Only one. There's only one thing here. Not many. There's one event. This is one event.
So would it be accurate to say that an ethical or moral dilemma is something that's created that exists only at a level of thought? Would that be
I was
accurate?
thinking about that, like the trolley problem or something like that.
What?
What problem?
The trolley problem.
A trolley problem, yeah. So do we run over 5 people or 1 person? Is
It
that-
doesn't matter the dilemma. It's just being presented with a choice to be made to make about something.
So what would be the reality? Let's imagine that this is not a theoretical exercise. Let's imagine that it's a real exercise. So you're driving along in the car and you see a single person in front of you that it seems unavoidable that you can miss them unless you steer off to the side, and the only choice is to do that, and off to the side is a group of people. So do you choose to kill 1 person rather than drive into the group of people? Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
It doesn't matter the example, but yes.
So what would be the reality of that if you were driving the car? What would be, and we're only imagining this, of course, but a reality as I would see it is that there is no choice. You would react instinctively to do something. So if you saw the single person in front of you, you would automatically steer away from them. And if you happen to hit the group of people when you did that, did you make the wrong choice? Or if you saw that person was there and you saw that group of people there and you didn't know what to do, is there a choice? You'd be standing on the brakes trying to stop the car, but you know it's not going to stop. It's going to run into somebody. Is there a choice? I don't think there's any choice involved.
I think, to me, like you said, that's just an instinctual thing. You're going to instinctually do one or the other.
Yeah.
It's going to happen so quickly. But how about a situation where, there's some real precedents for that, like in the last administration, where some people really didn't think so great about what was going on in the Trump administration, but they hung in there until the very last minute because they liked the job. They didn't want to give up the job. They liked the prestige of working in the White House.
So Eric,
I think
they had a choice.
There's more of an ethical choice where the principled thing would be, say, I'm not going to be involved with this, except that, there's some benefit, money, prestige, or whatever. But you're not doing the ethical thing by staying. So, to me, that's more of the thing that you can dwell on, and it's not going to be necessarily instinctual. In the beginning, it's going to be like, oh man, I've got these 2 conflicting things that I want to do, and but what is the right thing to do? I don't know.
I'm not questioning the possibility of having choice or not. It doesn't matter really. It's about, I was asking about the perspective of what would your perspective would be like. Would you be involved with the confusion, what to do, or would you be like relaxed and seeing what happens?
I don't understand the question. Because if there is a choice, okay, like I don't know how breaking with my partner and or staying with her, right? The appearance of the choice will appear to me, and the reaction to this, which is not a reaction, but anyway, I would put it that way, will appear to me also. And the confusion will be there between those two apparent events that I can choose between. And the sensation I can choose will be there. So what
Then
is the question?
what's the point of pointing out that there is no choice if I'm still involved with thinking that there is a choice? It seems like
Well,
it doesn't make any sense.
well, I want to say that I never say that. I personally never say that there is no choice, because if you feel that there is a choice, there is no point talking about it. And if you feel that there is really no choice, well, there's no point talking about it either. So either way, I don't think it's practical to talk about choice or no choice. But
And
the thing about, yeah, sorry.
I know, I just was gonna think to ask Ramis, like, what do you think? But yeah, please finish. I didn't want to interrupt.
I didn't hear.
What do you think? What's your point of view?
It seems like the choice is a real thing, and I feel like I need to make the choice, the right choice. This is how it appears to me, and I feel the confusion, the not knowing what to do, and when I'm hearing that there is no choice, then I don't see this. But I'm wondering about, from someone is having the perspective of there is no choice, what would their perspective would be like, how they approach a situation would that for me would be like,
Ramis,
I need to
there
make a
is no
choice.
person who have no choice. You imagine that there is an entity, a person who live a life where there is no choice. But if there is a sense of, if there's a person, there will be some sense of choice, apparent choice. And if there is
If
some
there's
choice,
no,
that you will feel that there is someone who is choosing.
if there's no sense of self or no sense of person, I'm wondering about the perspective of someone that doesn't see himself as a person with a choice and agency.
Yeah, but I get it. But there is no someone who sees that. And I think the best is find out, don't think about it, explore your experience and find out. My sensation is like you want to kind of understand how it feels, so you can orient your experience toward, kind of find a way toward someone who have no choice, and because there's no choice, so there's no confusion, so therefore, and there's no guilt, so therefore everything is perfect.
No.
No, it's not this.
Oh yeah, this is a tricky one. Look, I genuinely believe and feel that choice is just made up. Choice is a creation. There's a reality that I see all day, every day, that things happen. It's not, I certainly don't want to pretend to be something I'm not, but I recognize that what choice is just a thought bubble that we bring after the fact. Right? That the reality is that there's every situation is incredibly complex. There are the circumstances involved in any situation is so complex that I'd have to be arrogant to think that I can pick and choose to which ones to respond to.
Yeah, but
So
what I'm trying to kind of show to Rami is like, I understand that you see Vince, that choice is made up, but the point is that you kind of have an experience of thought, of choice somehow, but you recognize it that is made up. This is just what I'm trying to point to Rami. It's not that you for 24 hours there is no choice, just like a river flowing. No, you experience somehow there is choice, but you recognize that that is made up. Because I am under the impression that Rami is building an imagination that you go Vince
Yeah,
through
yeah.
the day
I
with
go along with
no
that. yeah.
choice whatsoever. And I just want to point to this fact, to this possibility to Rami.
So all I want to say, Ram, is about opening my mouth and talking about choice is that there's no point in imagining how it would be. You wait until you experience that. You will experience it at some point, but it is an experience, not a mental thing. And if I ran over somebody, I would feel sad, but I wouldn't feel guilty. It's not like I would do it on purpose. So there might be no, well, there would be some remorse. There would be the idea that it's sad that it happened, but there wouldn't be the idea that if I'd have done something different, it wouldn't have happened. That's the made up stuff. That's where choice appears. Yeah.
But Vince, if you look back to an event, when you look back to it, right, in your memory, you will feel that you had choice, right? There will be some kind of appear that, oh, that's right, I could have chosen this and I could have chosen this.
Oh, well, I also see that as a story straight away. That's
exactly,
just
exactly. Yeah. But this is what I want to say to Ramis. You see, the story still appear.
Yes.
The story that I had a choice still appear.
Mm.
You can see this, Ramis?
Yeah, I can understand.
So,
I wasn't trying to imagine what it would be like. I was wondering what it would be like.
What it would be like. Oh yeah, this is something.
So the opposite is what I imagine. The fact that you think you've got choice and then straight away you start to feel bad about a choice that you made or good about a choice that you made, same thing. And then there are also spin-offs from all of that. And next thing you know, whether you made the right choice, you better keep making the right choice, or you made the wrong choice. That's, wow, there's suffering involved no matter which way you go. Why do that to yourself? That's the biggest.
I think there's way more to this. I mean, so we're all used to driving, and you know, if you're content in your whatever, you see a stoplight, and so there's a somewhat of a reaction. I was like, oh, maybe I can beat the light. And that's sort of a choice to go and do that. And you run into somebody. Well, yeah, that was kind of a bad choice. A more proper way would be to see the light and don't feel so anxious of trying to get someplace. So you stop. There was something going on there that made you not feel the necessity to run the light.
Hmm.
And so you stopped.
Yeah.
Eric, are you saying what I'm hearing is like there is something in you that didn't push you to this stop, to this light, so you stop. So there is something in you that has stopping you, right?
But right at that instant of that opportunity to, like, oh, maybe I can make it and go for it. Maybe you even feel that come out of you, but instead of following it, you stop. It's a choice. I mean, it's you know, maybe the choice went way farther back. Maybe the choice started when you started meditating and you started being mindful, and and that led to that event. But at some point, some things were set in motion, and you could have gone either way.
This is very interesting because
Could have
when
gone either
tell
way.
tell me when are the things set in motion? When did
Yeah.
it start? It is motion.
Oh, that's
Well-
what I was saying. It basically could have been set in motion
Yeah.
50 years ago. Maybe it was set in motion when you were learning how to drive, and your dad told you have to wear a seatbelt. No, don't run stop signs. I mean, who knows? But at some point, because I've done that a few times where I'm getting to a light and I'm thinking, oh, I think I can make it. Oh no, I'm just gonna stop. I don't need to.
Yeah, but did you choose all of the events that allow you to have enough resilience to not go with this impulse to I want to cross? Did you choose all of these events that allow you
But
to
there
not
was
follow
like an
this
instant.
impulse?
There was like an instant there where there was an impulse to go, also an impulse to, don't do something stupid. And
Which impulse took precedence wasn't a matter of choice. It was a matter of all of the circumstances involved from the beginning of time up to then, all of the circumstances involved there and then. If there'd been somebody halfway across a walkway, that would have changed the thing. The fact there was no one there, that makes it different. All of these circumstances are involved in which impulse took precedence, but it wasn't a choice. Only looking back at it, would you
yeah.
say it was a choice?
there were alternatives, and one of them was done.
Yes, but they weren't actually alternatives unless you look back at it and play it in your mind. It's only a mental thing that made them alternatives. The one took precedence was always the one that was going to happen.
That may be true, but right at that moment,
I know it appears like there's a choice, but that's just you selfing, saying, I've got a choice. But in reality, you'll do whatever happens is what you'll do.
I think the sense of choice or agency is coming from fear. Like when I feel hungry, for example, I don't choose feeling hungry. And when I look for food, I don't choose what to eat. I feel like I'm drawn to certain food and I'm not other. And it feels like in the process of eating, it like if I'm focusing on each step, something is pulling me towards something. I'm not making any choice until there is a choice that it's challenging my sense of self, my sense of what I should do or what I should not do. And then the sense of choice arises because it contradicts a belief I have about myself or about what I perceive.
I have another self-inquiry question on this. Could be like, who wonders how it'd be like?
Well, I deal with this choice thing one way for a long time. It's for choice to really matter, to really mean something. It has to have meaning, right? The choice, because I'm not talking about if I can eat ice cream or if I can drink water or Coca-Cola, because really it doesn't matter. Those kind of choice at this level, really, I'm not interested in it so much, So the way on this one level that is very interesting to understand choice, if can I choose to be happy? You know? No, no, really. I think this is the only really talk that we can really make sense, you know. So can you choose to be happy, you know, and just explore? Can you? And if you cannot make yourself happy, why not? So there is choice, there's no choice. Are you choosing? If you are choosing, why? You know, at which level you're choosing? But putting the frame in something that is really meaningful. Because, for example, not stopping at a stop sign doesn't mean anything, right? Who cares? You know, maybe everyone has done it and have forgot it. But if you cross a stop sign and you kill someone and you feel guilt and you have emotion, then this choice becomes very important. So choice, often we talk, what we really want to talk, it's the choice of I'm not happy and I want to choose to be happy. This is really why we think about choice. But after we are lowering the choice to the level that is meaningless, you know. I can choose to have a bike or a car, but who cares? You know, I can cut my beer, but who cares about that? You know, the real choice is I feel miserable and I want to be peaceful. You know, I'm in fear and I want to feel love or something like this. And I think this is where the choice is really meaningful to talk. If we talk about choice, to talk at this level.
Well, it's ethics is all involved with alternatives.
But there is no ethics. There's no moral in the ethics. There is no ethics at all. This is not obvious. I mean,
Well,
I don't know. It
I don't
seems
know.
obvious to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
In Buddhism, there is no self, but there's also Buddhist ethics as well.
Yeah, but I'm not interested in Buddhism. I'm interested in you. So what do you think?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a Buddhist follower, so I guess I do believe there's such a thing as ethics.
So is
But I'm not
it sacrilegious to say that Buddhism is wrong? Is it possible that it could be wrong?
Are you asking me or David?
Yeah, you know,
Or-
yeah.
Oh, me. Well, I don't know. Is anything right or wrong? I mean,
Exactly. Yeah, that's true too. Didn't I think I read somewhere that both Jesus and Buddha, and I don't know about Muhammad, but both Jesus and Buddha both said, do not make a religion out of this. And isn't Buddhism the religion that came out of what the Buddha taught? And I guess implication in that is that it kind of wandered off the track a little bit. So I can't see how ethics and morality is anything but made up by particular societies or cultures. Now, I'm not saying good ethics is not a good thing and bad ethics is not a bad thing. Because I guess it comes down to something that I believe, which is something about fundamental human nature. And I don't see us as having the fundamental human nature as the same as, say, the fundamental nature of a crocodile, right, who's lives at a survival level. I would see compassion and empathy and love as a fairly natural state for somebody who is not traumatized. And that's so if that is accurate, and I don't know, and it may not be, it's just a thought, then there's no need for ethics. You know, nature will do the right thing. We don't need to be told to be a good person, which is what ethics and morality is about. That's just my take on it. I don't know how that fits really.
I would like to ask something to everybody, because I was wondering, yeah, for example, okay, we as humans have those dual levels, labels, you know, like good and bad and small and big, and also, for example, natural and artificial. And I know this doesn't really exist outside of the human mind, but then, for example, we know that plastic is polluting the oceans, you know, and maybe it's very harmful for our, yeah, for the space in which we live. But on the other hand, you could say it comes all from the same source, you know. It's also, I mean, so to say, it also comes out of nature. It was just like processed by humans that are also coming out of nature and so on. I mean, but that would not lead me to throw plastic into nature, into the forest, for example. But yeah, it's kind of tricky for me if I think that, because then on one hand, yeah, from the perspective outside those labels, of course, there is no difference. But yeah, I mean, what would you say about that?
I would say that probably you're surrounded by useful plastic. Your clothes are largely made from synthetic fibers, you know, that your everything you buy at the grocery store is probably comes in a plastic bag, etc., etc. There are a lot of bad things and a lot of good things, using those terms, about plastic. I wouldn't throw a plastic bag on the ground. I certainly wouldn't drop it in the ocean or anything like that. That's just ignorance, that where people will do that kind of thing. They just don't know the consequences of what they do. But we have a pretty good idea about the consequences of things. But again, there's this balance of things, you know. Are we using too much plastic? Are we too reliant on plastic? I would like to see only a fraction of the plastic that comes out of the supermarket actually coming out. And especially with arthritis in my hand, I would certainly like to not see some of those things that are so difficult to get into because of the kind of plastic that's used. But there's a reality, and the reality is that we're not going to do without plastic at this stage. It's just part of our life. Yeah. But we can be responsible, put it in the quotes, about
Ethical.
what we do with it. Yeah.
It seemed to me that ethics is like reverse engineering awakening in a way. It's like the right thing maybe is like, it's different. It's like everyone is doing the right thing for him, for what it seems for him. No one does the wrong thing or the evil thing on purpose. So the more distortion you have about yourself and the world, the more you make a choice that isn't skillful, isn't the mindful choice.
Plastic.
And the more you are mindful of the consequences of your choice and your distortions, the more you're gonna make a less problematic choice, I think. And this is, I think, is an awakened mind, I suppose, with less distortions. And I think ethics is like championing this. It's like I'm trying to achieve this level of mindfulness or awakening by doing the right thing, or what religion tells me what's the right thing.
Sorry, I didn't understand. Ramis, you want to reach, you want to attain some, I didn't get it. It was just rhetorical.
I'm not talking about myself. I was just explaining what it seems to me that ethics is just telling people do this to achieve
Okay, I
awakening
get
or
it.
to
I get it
achieve.
now. Yeah, thank you.
Hmm. You were cracking up a minute ago, Eric. What tickled you? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
That's okay. Yeah. So how do we relate this back to the reason that we're here? How do we relate this back to waking up? Where do these ideas of choice, of ethics, morality, where do these things fit with us as hopefully people evolving from deluded to whatever, awake kind of thing?
I've been actually spending a lot of time, because during the day, I know there's times when don't have a feeling of self. I'm just doing something. I'm experiencing something. I'm meditating. I'm hitting a nail. I'm
Yeah, lots of things.
just involved in life. But there's really within any like 10-minute period, I can be experiencing really directly. Sometimes I can be aware of like an individual. Sometimes I look at my body and it's like I'm could be looking at
Yeah.
another person's body. You know, it doesn't.
There's no sense of
It's not,
ownership.
yeah. But it seems to me like you can go through like 20 minutes where you're experiencing things in many different kinds of ways. Sometimes no self, sometimes with self, sometimes because I know this brain has all these ideas, thoughts coming out, and that's just thoughts. But also that's also a creation. It's not it's happening. The thoughts are happening. It's another sense. There's sounds, there's sights, there's thoughts coming through your brain. I don't know. I just feel like there's people. Is there anybody who goes through the day without ever feeling like ownership of a body? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love your camera, Eric, because as you move, your screen is moving with you.
Oh, I guess
You know,
it's
it's
the tablet just does that
great.
automatically.
It's great
Yeah.
to see this. And it's zooming when you move the arm, it's kind of zooming, it's following you everywhere. And I'm like, wow, you see, this is exactly like a personal perspective, you know, like wherever you go, you are just always there to middle, you know, you can just know there is always this person in the middle. I cannot see anything. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing is static. Everything is always moving, always evolving, changing, always. Yeah.
I think interesting because Eric, you said that thoughts go through the brain, right? But we have no experience of a brain. Have you ever
Well, yeah, I mean,
experienced a brain?
that's my, I don't know. It's like when you sit in meditation, you know, because I do a lot of stuff like listening to sounds, just trying to hear sounds and not let a thought distract me from hearing the sound. So it's like I can see thoughts almost like a magnetic thing that kind of comes in and it starts to pull me away. But I'm, you know, my practice is like just trying to be hearing every sound.
Yeah,
I
that's a
just-
good one, yeah. So we're really talking about Feta 6 stuff here. So if we can separate our experience from labeling, then we are just one step closer to what is actual. Right? So the moment we see something and a label pops into our mind, we then relate to the label, not to the thing that we saw. But regardless of what sense, there is the tendency to experience it at a thought level. So when we say, what are you seeing, without a label, and if I look at your face, I can say, well, I can see colors and I can see shapes. I can see what I would call shadows. I can see reflections, all this kind of stuff. That's still at a thought level, right? In order to see what I'm seeing below the thought level, it becomes impossible to describe or explain or communicate what I'm seeing. But there's still the tendency to see it at a thought level. You know, even though the thoughts are not forming into something coherent, there is that seeing it in a way that is, it's very hard to describe this stuff. In a way that is not what I'm actually seeing. So what I'm actually seeing, I can't call color. I can't call shape. I can't call form. I can't name it in any way. There is just this, that, and it's at a really, really, really fundamental level of awareness, almost of just what is coming in the eyes without knowing what it is that's coming in the eyes. Kind of weird. I know that sounds a bit weird, but that's, you know, so that's at a level where we don't own what it is that's coming in. It's that ownership, that's where the identity stuff is, that thing where we get the feeling that I am seeing. You know, so there is just seeing, there's no I doing the seeing when we get to that really subtle level of that. And I presume that that's what you're talking about when you're trying to just hear sound, or you're trying to experience how can I put it, the sense of sound. You're not even hearing sound, there is just sound. There is
Yeah, that's what it becomes.
yeah.
In the beginning, there's just an intention. And then you're just hearing.
Yeah. Well, even to say you're just hearing is not a reflection of what's actually happening, you know, because there's
I mean,
no you and there's no hearing.
we're trying to use English
Yeah,
language.
Exactly. Yeah. That's possible, isn't it? But yeah.
But it's something too with words. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, you know, like I hear people talking sometimes, and sometimes I'm not, I don't hear the word. Like someone says love, I'm just hearing, oh, you know, they're just a series of mouth movements and
Yeah.
consonants. And I mean, partly it's because I live with someone who speaks a different language, Shanghainese. I can understand some Chinese, but I can't understand hardly any Shanghainese, and so it's just sounds.
That's a
And-
really, really good one, a great exercise to have somebody talk to you in a language that you don't understand and listen to them and with a kind of a, I don't know how to put it, with an acceptance of some kind, and you do understand what they're saying, even though you've got no idea about what the words mean. There's a you know, the understanding is not at a thinking level, not at a mental level. Yeah. So, you know, get your wife to say something that, you know, you have no idea what it is she's saying, and see if you can understand what she's trying to communicate to you. I'll bet you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like I talked to my daughter, and I said, sometimes I'm glad I don't know everything that's being said.
Yeah, well, that, especially if they're talking about you. Or out of the middle of this torrent of words comes Eric. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that we're all on about here, what's really, and this is what you're talking about here, is discovering the world that exists beneath a conceptual level. And so most people in our society operate mostly at a purely conceptual level. You know, they're always talking in stories about things, and it's always it's very superficial. It's always up at that mental level, you know. And what we're trying to do here is to discover what's beneath that. What is actual that's underneath the conceptual layer that most people operate at. That's the best way I can put what we're trying to discover here, what this is all about. So Ramiz, when we're talking about ethics and morality or choice, that's all at the conceptual level. So there is something beneath that level that we're interested in, where the magic is, where yeah.
Well, I will just frame it differently, because
Yeah, please. Yeah.
when we say below, you know, or behind, there is kind of, I just want to precise, this is my experience, there is kind of a belief that just comes straight away. Oh, so my thoughts are hiding something, you know. So the thought are a problem to see clearly, or the thought, I have to move the thoughts, so I have to do something with the thought. And I found that was very, very interesting move with everything, but with thought kind of work, is to see what it is, what it is made, you know, what it has thought made of. Because when you inquire with this kind of intention of or sensibility, any thought is not a problem. So there can be many thoughts and there can be no thought, doesn't matter, because you are going in a direction where thought is not a problem at all. So it's way more easier in a way, but it's just change a little bit if you really focus on what it is here, you know, and what is a thought. And in that way, it's more and more easily to see that thought is not, the thought is real. Doesn't hide anything.
Mm. Mm.
Thought is one of the highest expression of reality. Really, we think it's a problem, but in fact, it's the highest expression possible in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
But maybe it's too it's too, I don't know, but it makes sense for me.
yeah, I do tend to talk in absolutes, you know, so when I talk about that, and certainly we can get the idea that it's wrong and so on when it's not, in fact, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, it gets very fast because also because of so many years of many tradition build of like kind of thought it's a problem, you know. In a way it's true, but at some point we have to get over it, you know. Thought is here, so
Yep.
you know, stop making a big deal about it, you know. Just see what it is, and it's,
Yep, yep,
that's it, you know.
Yeah, so it's easy to give the impression that we're going to leave thinking behind, or we're going to stop thinking,
Yeah,
whatever, and that's
yeah,
not true.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
with
to
vocabulary.
to whom does these thoughts arrive? Apparently, it's like a trick to, by looking at it in that direction, it will calm the thoughts by itself, and that gives more of like your experience of you, no? Because there's no answer maybe like to the question, but it's to ask oneself, to whom does this question arise? Yeah.
What is interesting with question is like the answer invalidates the question, and that's the answer. So in fact, when you ask a question and you have an answer, you have been tricked. If you ask a question and after you forgot what you asked, well, you have been answered.
I found it helpful to pay attention to the pushing and the pulling that I was doing with thoughts. So just letting go of the pushing and the pulling was a big shift. So not doing anything to the thoughts, but letting go of the pushing and the pulling of the thoughts.
By pushing and pulling, are you referring to a relationship with your thoughts?
Yeah, so there was some sort
Like
of
interacting with them.
relationship that was yes, that was kind of that subtle validation of the thinking process and the thoughts and going push, pull. But the letting go of the pushing and pulling, it just kind of brought the whole thing down. Took away the energy from the thoughts.
Mm.
And something else become more present or more obvious to you when this energy kind of comes down.
Then just the background, spaciousness, silence, peace.
So did you recognize in that pushing and pulling a sense of identity, a sense of owning, of attraction and repulsion, or a sense of what was your relationship with the pulling or the pushing?
I mean, it was a sense of me.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was after. Yeah, yeah. So by letting go of that pushing and pulling, what happened to the me?
That's right. It fell away.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
But that noticing the pushing and the pulling going on, that was really helpful, really instrumental.
Mm. Yeah, it would be a big thing, I imagine. Yeah.
Which is really, I think, you know, in terms of theta work, it's kind of like wanting, not wanting. It was like that, the whole, you know,
Yeah.
wanting, wanting, not wanting, not wanting, you know, pushing, pulling.
Desire and aversion, yeah, or desire and ill will, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Which is all about identity, yeah. Mm.
And sometimes it's just those little differences in how it's formulated that, you know, works for one set of conditioning, like this conditioning just related to that sense of pushing and pulling more than, say, talking about it in terms of fetters.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. That's only a conceptual overlay, isn't it? Yeah. That extends, the next step is to recognize that connection with what's outside, what's apparently outside of you, with the world, with objects and people, you know, and that same pushing and pulling, or pushing away and pulling in, exists with those things for exactly the same reason. It's the sense of identity, the me, that yeah, which is that's a really interesting exploration, that one.
Mm.
And you can do it. Go on. Okay.
I just want to add that even if the big pushing or pulling, it's from a sense of me, the pushing or pulling, when this sense of me is very clear that it's not, it's an illusion. For me now, this pushing or pulling, it's more a reflection of my own beliefs and conditionment that I have. So just want to name that it's not because there is still some pushing and pulling that that is not all. I don't know if it's correct to say it that way, but it's not that there is still a me. It's just that there is condition and beliefs, and after you work more on the beliefs and emotion and all of this trigger, it reflects my own system of belief that I have.
Yeah, but it's not believed in the same way, I suppose. That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the correct way. It's not believed the same way. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, just to say I'm leaving. Gonna go catch the sunrise here.
Okay.
Oh.
Ciao.
yeah.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also I think for me, part of the impetus was to try to get it right as well. To try to get it right. Previously, you know, just the pushing and pulling had that impetus of trying to work it out and get it right. Whereas that's largely been seen through now, just because it was really driving the sense of it was, you know, part of the sense of I.
Mm. Yeah, experience here is that this can still get triggered from stuff that hasn't been looked at yet, can get triggered by circumstances, by even something as simple as what somebody says, you know, a single word, if it relates back to, you know, somebody said the word useless once, and just in a sentence, and boy, I got triggered right back. I went right back to my father yelling at me, telling me I was useless, you know, and I thought I was beyond all that stuff, but boy, did it come up. Yeah, so these triggers can still, but they like David's saying, they're remnants that are there that are just not yet got out, kind of thing, and seeing them come up is a great thing because they evaporate when they come up. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's it. So, I mean, they don't wound in the same, they
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
capacity to wound. Yeah.
And we can have gratitude that they come up as well, an opportunity to free up a little bit more energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something happened to me that it's become more and more clear that when a person annoy me or yeah, kind of have a rejection toward a person, it's something that it's in me that I don't want to deal with or I cannot see, so the reflection is there. But something is happening that I see that I do the same in the opposite way. Like the person that I want to be with, it's also something that is in me, that is too much love. So I will just love someone else. It's easier, to put some distance with all of this love I feel, for my son, for example, my son. But I see that it's too much love, so I'm not so. I put it on the person also, so I'm a little bit more safe. So I see that this kind of projection both work in the positive and the negative. And I find it very interesting to also take responsibility for the beauty, not because often if you talk a lot about the darkness, it is I don't like this or it's yours, but I think it's very, very powerful to also work with beauty, like if you see sunset, the beauty is not out there. The amazement is not in the sun, it's in me. So I have to take responsibility for the beauty also. And this is a beautiful process. Yeah.
Yeah, we often overlook that. As you say, we focus on the dark side of things. But the really good stuff tells us stuff just as much as the dark stuff does. Yeah. So, but we don't want to lose it, so we pretend it doesn't sometimes because it's pleasant. Yeah.
I find that having this sense of space, like openness, I like to describe it as like a soft feeling. I find it's easier to see a trigger happening in time, and like I see like the irritation or something arising in the moment, and I don't have too much conflict with it. It seems like there's a fascination with what's happening, and it's easier to see or even to laugh at what's happening, and even doing like emotional work, it feels easier. It feels like it's healing. It's more soft. Like when this space is not here, it feels contracting. It feels like it's painful. It's conflict. It's struggle, and it feels like doing any emotion work is more like, it feels like more traumatic or re-traumatizing. It feels like I'm making the trauma more solid and more real, and there's no space for it to breathe, and there's no sense of love or acceptance, and it doesn't seem like something I can do. It's either here or not. It's not like I can flick a finger, have this space. It feels like a grace, maybe. I don't know. But I find that the practice you told me, David, about sensing like a pleasant sensation in the body, and also I was doing there's a video Todd made about seeing, hearing, and feeling meditation practice. I was doing this also, and I feel like it's helping be grounded in this space and openness and be more mindful. Yeah, I think this is helping.
Right. Yeah.
I see you smile. Thank you.
Yeah,
You're smiling. Nice. You know, I think I have, and I believe many of us have, we have a whole history of, because of Christian religion, and anyway, so that we have to suffer. It has to be difficult, you know. We have to suffer to gain something, and this is very, very deep in us. So if it's change, it's beautiful. If you can see that this path can be simple and it can be very pleasant. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It really doesn't. So, and thank you for reminding me that it can be pleasant. I forgot I'll say sometimes. Well, yeah. I enjoyed, I have space here to say goodbye, and I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying this group, and see you another moment.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
bye.
I think it's probably time to wind up anyway, eh?
Yeah. Thanks, Vince.
It's been good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice day.